Hello! Welcome to my free class, From Homelessness to a Six-Figure Launch. Okay, so there's a lot of information I'm going to be going over in this class. Hi, Emily. And Judy, hi, babe. Hi, Kim. Good to see you. Brittany's here. Sandy's here. Hi, everybody. So I will absolutely make time to answer your questions at the end, time permitting. Oh, hi, Miss Priscilla. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Sandy. About the journey. Oh, hi, Tanya. Okay, I'm going to stop saying hi and finish my sentence. I will absolutely make time to answer your questions about my journey. But I want the information to come out in a little bit more of a seamless fashion. So I'm going to answer your questions at the end. Capiche? Because it's, like I said, there's a lot of information. This is very dense. Hi, Heather. Welcome, babe. And there's a lot of stuff that happened in the last, 8 years now. 8 years. Okay, it's taken me 8 years to get from the last time I was homeless all the way up to today. And there's been a lot of stuff. So just to reiterate, feel free to type your questions as they come up, but I will get back to them at the end. And oh, hey, Joanna. So funny. I said, I'm not going to say hi to anybody, but I'm so happy to see you all here. So I take that back. I'm going to say hi to people if it's appropriate. Hi, Jazz. Welcome, babe. I hope everything's settling down in your world. Okay, so I hope you have, oh, thanks, it's a dress. I hope you have paper, pen. We are not doing any processes. This is literally a brain dump. I am going to take you through all of the steps, all of the mindset shifts, and all of the healing that I personally had to do. And I'm probably going to miss a bunch, but that I personally had to do to get from homelessness to where I currently sit, which is my launch for, hey, Jess. Oh, love. My launch for my latest program is currently at 127,000 for this month in sales. So that is pretty crazy. Thanks for popping on, Jess. You actually reminded me to make a note of something here. Okay. If you're ready, say, I'm ready. If you've got paper, say, I got my pen, got my paper. Thank you, Joanna. It's nuts. It's nuts. The best part about my launch currently is that it's been really effortless. It's been easy. It's been totally in alignment. I haven't been working 15-hour days. I went to a retreat last week. I have a cruise next week. Yay! I'm still taking my Sundays off. I was at the spa all day yesterday. Oh, hey, Emmeline, welcome. So that's the thing, right? It doesn't matter if we're making money. Are we making money? Hi, Valerie. Are we making money in an aligned way that feels effortless, that feels like we don't have to sell our soul to the devil itself in order to make that money, right? Because that is the old paradigm. We are not about that life anymore. We are about flow and effortlessness and ease and magnetizing your wealth into you. Priscilla, you're in it already. You're already registered, babe. That's what you paid for. Just in case you were wondering. Cool. So, as I was talking to Serafina the other day, Serafina is my daughter. I am live. Hi, Kripa. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Rebecca. Oh, I'm so happy to have you. Serafina and I were chatting, and I said, oh, the spa. No, nobody gets to go with me to the spa. It's my time. We were talking about going uphill, right? We're talking about how some people are addicted to struggle. Some people in her life specifically are addicted to struggle, are addicted to things being hard. And if things aren't hard, they make things hard for themselves. Hey, T. Yay. We got time zones all lined up there. I'm happy to hear that. Hi to Italy. And I said to her, if it feels like you're going uphill, it's because you're going the wrong way. Okay, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have challenges, but it's supposed to feel moderately effortless. It's supposed to feel like everything is kind of like harmonizing and coming into alignment, not the other way around. It's not supposed to feel like frenetic and your head's going to fall off and your soul is completely empty and all of that stuff. Okay, it's not supposed to feel like that. If it feels like that, you're doing it wrong. Come back here. I'm going to talk you through all of the different steps. Okay. So let's do a little bit of a backtrack. Okay. The reason that I was homeless, 3 of the 4 times that I was homeless was because I had started a business that started to make money. And as soon as I started to make money, I quit my job. I didn't have any savings. The money I was making wasn't consistent, but I started to see some numbers and I got all excited and I quit my job. And 3 out of the 4 times that I ended up being homeless were because of that exact same scenario. I did it fucking 3 times. Can you believe that? OM goodness. That's why, by the way, when I'm in some of these women's groups and someone's like, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm like, hold up. Don't do it yet. Can we have a little conversation? Can we talk about, okay, what kind of savings do you have? What's your income like for your new thing? Where are you gonna get money, babe? Where's your money coming in to pay for your rent, to pay for your food? Like, what happens if your business doesn't take off as quickly as you think it's going to? Like, what happens if not everybody loves your idea? Or what happens if your idea is brilliant, but your messaging isn't great, so nobody gets it, right? So I'm always like, hold the phone. Because I did it 3 times. Yeah, Joanna gets me. I did it 3 times. Oh, it was the worst. Oh, and so demoralizing and so humiliating. So humiliating. And I have an entrepreneurial spirit. So I kept on getting back up and trying again. And then the last time, the 4th time I was homeless, it was because I had gotten rescued by a knight in shining armor who made a ton of money. And he came in and swooped me up in his arms and said, me and Serafina, and said, you can quit your job. And I was like, yes! I'd literally been praying for that, right? I'd literally been praying for like a wealthy man to come in, scoop me up and take me into his arms and take care of me. And he did, because the universe will answer every single prayer that you have, by the way. But the problem was it didn't work out because the types of people that do that tend to be a little bit controlling. Only I didn't realize that because I was still so sweet and naive in my 20s. And when I had been locked in a tower for a year and I was ready to come out, it was basically like bars down, doors locked. No, you stay here. This is your spot. You can do anything that you want as long as it doesn't require you leaving the house. I was like, uh-oh, that's not good. So we didn't last very much longer after that. And I went from having this gorgeous 3,500 square foot house and like, you know, $1,000 in pocket money to play with a month. And yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, total oops, to zero income, 0 place to live. He totally threw me under the bus, like so hard. He was so angry. And he totally threw me under the bus, and literally Seraphina and I had nowhere to go. We had to move in and stay on one of my friend's sofas. That was the 4th time I was homeless. Okay, hey Landon. Yeah, some of you feel me. Okay, so what happened then? So I'm sleeping on my friend's sofa. I'm homeless for the 4th time. I'm freaking a mom. I'm 28. And I have $200 in my bank account. I got no income. I got no prospects. The only thing I was good at was sales, right? Because I've always loved people. Always wanted to work with people. I love working with people. So I was great at sales, but I was like, my heart and soul had been totally drained from being in sales positions, working for crooked companies that I just couldn't do it again. And my my first guardian angel, who was my friend who took me in at that time, said, Abby, you've been jumping from one fire into another for 2 years now, because that's on and off how long it took me to get to this 4th stint of homelessness after my separation from Seraphina's dad. She said, I want you to stay right here. We will make sure you eat. We'll make sure you have gas. You're not going to pay any rent, but you're not going to move, right? Oh gosh. You're not going to move until you know what you're doing. And you're making a proactive decision rather than a reactive decision. And that was my first pause. That was the first time I paused, okay? Because before that, for those of you who know my story, I was raised in foster care. I've been all kinds of the abused, so I've been through all of the different kinds of abuse that you can go through. I witnessed my mom, being violently beaten for 5 years. Lots and lots and lots of different stuff. Abandonment, neglect, la 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 la. Everybody has a version of their own story. Even if it's not as bad as mine sounds, everybody's got a version, right? And I'm not minimizing mine. I'm just saying that I'm not gonna sit here and dwell on that because that part is not important in the story. The important part of the story is when my friend said that to me, my mindset shift right in this moment was, it's time to stop expecting to be rescued. Okay? I had this chip on my shoulder, kind of like this sense of entitlement. Like I had been through the shit, right? So I was like, my 20s, single mom, I was like, hey, I've paid my dues. I've been through the shit and here I am, not a drug addict, not a hooker, right? And I'm not trying to say that either of those things are necessarily bad because there's literally no judgment here. But that's what I had in my mind. I was like, you're welcome, world. For me still coming out okay, somebody needs to come and rescue me. Like somebody needs to come and save me. And that's hence why I got into the lost, tragic situation that I was in. And I realized it was time to stop expecting to be rescued. It was time to realize that it was my job to rescue myself. Okay? Mindset shift number 1. Mindset shift number 2 that was vital right at this moment was, it's time to stop blaming my abusers for what had happened in my life. It was time to stop blaming the people who had hurt me deliberately or out of their own trauma, right? Usually it's just out of their own trauma. It's not necessarily intentional. It was time to stop blaming my abusers for what had happened. It was time to stop blaming my mom for just not being a great mom. It was time to stop blaming the people who had abused me, who'd raped me. It was time to just stop. It was time to stop blaming my foster mother for being unkind. It was time to be done with that because I was fucking 28 years old. It was time to take responsibility for my decisions. It was time to take responsibility for my life, and it was time to begin healing from that. Can everybody else hear me okay? Judes, could you hear me at the beginning at all? Because if so, then great, then that's something else with your phone. If not, your volume is probably muted on the video. Sometimes Facebook will mute the video. Awesome. Thanks, Rebecca. Okay. So phase 1 of my shift was the mindset shift. To stop expecting to be rescued, to realize it was my job to rescue myself, and to stop blaming my abusers. Mind shift 1. Okay. My action steps. Yes! Oh, Rebecca, I'm sending you so much love. Pew, pew, pew. Love, 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 love. Action step number 1 with this phase. Okay, I'm going to break it down to 3 phases. Phase 1 was putting out fires because I had created a ton in my life. I spent 2 weeks making lists. I realized I was at a pivotal point in my life where I could get into a job that I could then commit myself for the next 20, 30 years, 40 years till it was time to retire. 35 years till it was time to retire. I could work a job for the next few years while I thought about what to do with my life, or I could just take this time right then and stop and figure out what was it that I was supposed to do. And I kind of had a knowing in the back of my mind that it would be a little bit of a process of trial and error, and I was totally okay with that. But I needed to know what I needed to do next, right? What was soul aligned? Where was my soul being pulled to? So I made some lists. My list number 1 was, what did I love to do? So I highly recommend this. If you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, make these lists. List number 1. What did I love to do? I loved working one-on-one with people. Now, it didn't have to be like always one-on-one, but I loved like interacting with people. I loved teaching classes. I'd always thought I wanted to be a teacher, but I don't like being told how. I don't like someone saying this is how you have to do it, because then I'm like, nah, bro, like, I don't think so. I just want to do it the way that I want to do it. So what did I love to do? I loved working with people. I loved making a difference. I loved listening to people. Love the way that people's minds work. I love knowing what happened in people's past. I love helping them bridge a gap to the future. Like, I loved it. What brings to this day tears to my eyes is when someone becomes that version of themselves that they have in their mind that they feel like they can't get to. When someone gets to that place, that position, if I had any hand in helping to create that, that is like what lights me up, right? So these were some of the things I knew that I loved to do, some things that lit me up, right? Really lit me up. That if people could pay me money to do these things, I'd be like, what? Hold the phone. Yes, I will do that for the rest of my life. Because legitimately, like that question that someone says, what would you do if you didn't need the money? This is the thing that I would do. I would keep doing this just for the transformation, just for the world healing, just to help people become the being that they were supposed to be. Then I made another list. And my second list was, what was I absolutely not willing to do at all, under any circumstances? One of those things was I was not willing to go back into a facility that served food or beverages. I'd worked as a bartender, I had worked as a waitress, I had worked at Starbucks, and I was really, really done with smelling like food. Now, just for the time being, but in that moment, I was done. I was done smelling like food. I was done smelling like coffee. I was done having my hands like torn to shreds. I was done with that. Now, for some of you, maybe you've never done that. It's a beautiful, fun time. It's a fun way to interact and interface with people and with life. It's a gorgeous, dark net of learnings. That's the only way I can explain it. So there's a lot to be gained from working in kind of like the food industry, the hospitality industry. I didn't have the capacity for that. I had so little energy left. I had so little, oh, thanks, Judes. Yes, perfect. I know, right? Grease in your hair. Ick. I had so little capacity left for working in such a close capacity with people when people don't like their food or drinks to be messed with. They get really angry, as you have experienced if you've worked in the industry at all. I didn't have the patience to deal with that. Like, I would have not kept those jobs very long. Oh, hey, Monique. Welcome, babe. So many of my favorites. Okay, then what I did is I took my list of things that I loved to do, my list of things that I absolutely was not willing to do, and I cross-referenced. And I Googled like crazy for 2 weeks. Okay, what job includes da-da-da? Can you teach this? Can you teach that? Da-da-da-da-da, like, right? So I was just like deep in the internet of like, okay, is it possible for me to create a therapy practice without going to college for 10 years? Because I just wasn't interested in doing 10 years of school before I could actually begin to make my difference. Like, I know it's super valuable, super respectable. I wasn't willing to do it. I needed to be making a difference yesterday. I wasn't willing to go back to school for 10 years. And then my last list of things was, what would I be willing to do to make money in the meantime? Okay, so I made a list of things that I would be willing to do to make money. I was willing to be a virtual assistant. Uber wasn't a thing back then, but I would have been willing to do that. If that was a time that I had a car. Yeah, my car probably wouldn't have passed the Uber standard, so probably not. Let's see. Oh yeah, admin, totally doable. I could do in-office sales as long as I didn't have to take it home with me, right? So like I could be a secretary, I could do admin. I'm really smart, and I knew it back then, even though I was deep in trauma. So I knew I had a lot to offer, but there were some things I was just not willing to do. Cool. So I had my lists, and that was that. Now, very interestingly enough, because this is how things happen, because if you make way for the universe will guide you every single time. We're never alone. And our plan is already laid out. So all we have to do is literally just kind of like step out the way, and the universe will bring in signs. I happen to be reading a book that I highly recommend to you called Journey of Souls. Now, Journey of Souls, I'm not going to go into it, but it's fucking amazing. Journey of Souls was written by a hypnotherapist, and essentially people paid him $600 for a 4 to 5 hour hypnotherapy session where they could actually connect with their soul self. So not their self in different lifetimes, not past life regression, but their soul self. What happens to them after they leave their body before they come back to earth. So he could take them on a journey through the spirit world, meet their spirit guides, meet their soul family. It was so cool. And I was like, and I found out that he charged $500 for this. What? $500? People pay him $500 to do this? It's Journey of Souls by Dr. Michael Newton. Like a journey. And I was hooked. I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to help people connect with their original soul identities to find out what's on the other side of the veil. And people are going to pay me $500 a pop to do this. Heck yes. Then I calculated that if I just did 2 sessions a month, I could be making like 50, 60,000 bucks. If I did, 4 sessions a week, I'd be clearing 6 figures. The possibilities like totally expanded. And I researched and I found out that to enroll in his school, you actually need 2 years as a certified hypnotherapist, 2 years of private practice. And I was like, okay, guess I'm gonna go do my 2 years of private practice. So that's what I did. That in that 2 weeks of downtime when I took a pause, I was homeless, staying on my friend's sofa, right? Had no idea what was gonna happen. I had $200 in my bank account. I had no idea where I was gonna go, what I was gonna do. That's where things started clicking into place for me. So I enrolled in HMI College of Hypnotherapy, which is the best school for hypnotherapy in the world. It's been in place for like 54 years. It's been around. It's amazing. Anyway, so I enrolled in HMI. I was offered multiple different jobs, and all of them were sales because I was highly qualified to do sales. But I decided, thank you, Jess, I decided to go for Princess Cruises. Even though they were paying minimum wage at $10 an hour. See, that's how we know when I was working at Princess Cruises, because the minimum wage isn't $10 an hour anymore. And I would barely be able to make my bills. Yes, find a hot copy. Yeah, totally. Hi, Sarah. Welcome, babe. I needed a job that I wouldn't have to take home. All of the other sales jobs were long hours, weekend hours. You'd have to you have to answer the calls from home, like it was building up, it was an insurance agent building up your own insurance agency. And man, they promised me like huge perks. Like they were guaranteeing, I bet different, huh? They were guaranteeing me like a base yearly salary of $50K plus commissions. It was awesome. But I reasoned that if I'm trying to build up a private hypnotherapy practice, I also don't need to be doing a job that's dependent upon me building a book of business. So I decided to go with Princess Cruises because that was a job that I could honor myself. I get in at 8:30 and I'm done at 4, and I don't have to think about it before or after I leave. Okay, so this we're still in phase 1. Then I asked my next door neighbor if she would babysit for me 2 to 3 nights a week so I could go to school and learn hypnotherapy. And then I rented a room. I found a room for rent for $400 a month. It wasn't in the most prestigious home in the most prestigious area of town, but my sole focus was getting all of my expenses underneath my income, which was sitting at about $1,800 a month, right? Just me and Serafina. Had no outside support. My family lives in England. They don't have money. My ex and I had an agreement that he didn't have to give me what's his face. So it's just me. Everything stopped with me. Okay, so all of my expenses, this is very important, all of my expenses had to be under my income. That was the bottom line. All my credit cards were already maxed out from my previous 3 times of homelessness. So I knew I needed to get my act together. Time to start taking responsibility for my money, put my big girl pants on, and start handling my business. So during this time, as I was putting out fires, I just want to mention, it wasn't even just me getting a full-time job, me having my amazing next door neighbor to help me watch Serafina, and me starting school. During this time, my ex took me to court 3 times to try to get full custody of my daughter for no apparent reason. Well, I can appreciate that he thought I was a little unstable. That's very fair. But yeah, no, ain't happening. Ain't happening. And then I had a really bad breakup with the guy, right? And he threw me under the bus so many kinds of ways. Oh my gosh, it was so heartbreaking. During this whole time, right? It was hard. It was really hard. I was working full time. I went to school 2 nights a week, 3 nights a week, single mom, just me. But I did it. And the healing. Okay, so in that period when I had zero money, zero, I started seeing a hypnotherapist because, by the way, HMI offers 6 free sessions with an intern. So you can go to their website and you can apply and you can get 6 free sessions with an intern. When you're a student at HMI, you get 3 free sessions with one of the teachers. It's just part of the practice. So I used my free sessions. I also started practicing all the techniques on myself. So everything that I was learning, I was practicing on myself. I was taking myself through some hardcore healing, okay? And then I also started reading a ton of books. So yes, I was definitely stretched to the max, but I also was very aware that I had big, red, gaping, pussy, open wounds that if I didn't heal, I would just keep repeating the same patterns over and over and over, okay? And then some of the books that I read in that time that I just wanted to recommend to you, if you want to write these down, The Alchemist. I know many of you have probably read those. If you haven't read it, read it. The Alchemist, The E-Myth, and Entree Leadership. The Alchemist. If someone wants to jot that in there, I'd appreciate that. The Alchemist, The E-Myth, and Entree Leadership by Dave Ramsey. It's entree like entrepreneur, leadership. So it's how to kind of merge being an entrepreneur with also being a leader of your company, because there's just you. The Alchemist helped me really evaluate where I was in life and where I was in the story, because it's very, very much, it's gorgeous. The E-Myth and then Entree Leadership. Perfect. And just a reminder for those of you who didn't hear my, I see your questions come in. But if you didn't hear my disclaimer, I'm going to get to questions at the end just because we have so much stuff to cover. And if I don't get to them before our time runs out, thank you, Joanna. Thank you guys. Thanks, Gina. Then I will respond in the comments later on. Okay, so that was phase 1. From homelessness to kind of getting my ducks in a row. Okay, so that was the whole of phase 1. Phase 2 was my stabilizing phase. Phase 1 took me about a year, by the way. It took me about a whole year to get really to the point where I finally felt like I could stabilize. Phase 2 is my stabilizing phase. Okay, so some of the things that was happening in my life at that time is I was making $2,000 a month, okay, working at Princess Cruises. Wonderful company, treats their employees so great. Whenever I meet anyone who's here in Santa Clarita, within driving distance or whatever, and they're looking for a job, I'm like, go to Princess Cruises. They basically hire most people. As long as you have some kind of qualification, it's a really great job. They take great care of their employees. It's not a for everything. They know that. It's awesome. I controlled my spending. Okay, so remember in phase 1 where I got my expenses below my income? I kept my expenses below my income. That was hard for me because I love to spend money. And it's never on frivolous things. I love to eat. I love to splurge on my friends. And I love to spoil Serafina. So that one was tough. That one took effort, right? To keep my spending under my income, but I did it. And I built my savings to $250. So even though $250 would have gotten wiped out like that, I still wanted to have just a little bit of padding, just a little bit of something, that if something happened, I needed new tires, it wouldn't have to come from the rent. Because essentially on an $1,800 budget, that's what's happening, right? So I just gradually saved all of my pennies, all the pennies that I had left, and built up a $250 savings. And then any extra money that I had, I used to build my business, okay? I'll give you some more specifics in a minute. And I was tired as fuck. I was worn out. I was using a lot of energy. There wasn't a lot of self-care. I don't recommend this, by the way. This is not me saying, yeah, follow exactly in my footsteps. No. I don't recommend this bit. Even to this day, I demand that my clients take a day off or else. I find them. If they don't take a day off, I find them because it's so vital. And my big mindset shift here. Yes, love it. Yay! Awesome. My big mindset shift here is I realized that I had to get stable. I had to build up more income. I felt a little strangled at $1,800 a month, as many of you can imagine if you've ever lived on that with a kid or multiple kids. So I realized I had to get stable. That was my big realization. Okay, so when I hit my internship, so after 6 months we can stop practicing, I asked 3 friends to let me practice on them. And the results were amazing. The results gave me confidence in what I was doing. And then I started to charge for sessions. Or roommates, brilliant. My fee for hypnotherapy when I first began was $25 an hour. I always giggle at that. And especially when I tell people now, when they come to me, they're like, oh, wow, your rates are expensive. I'm like, oh, yeah, super. But you're not paying for an individual session. You're paying for the result. And the result is totally worth it. But then I'm like, yeah, when I started, I was $25. I'm like, dang, I wish I could have met you then. And I was like, well, it definitely wasn't as good then as I am now. So my rate was $25 an hour because, okay, so this is important. Your unconscious mind, your subconscious mind will allow you to receive consistently, at most double what you've previously made consistently, okay? So up until that moment, the most money that I had ever made was $12.50 an hour. $12.50 an hour. So the maximum amount of money that my unconscious mind would allow me, totally, right? Would allow me to charge was $25. And even at $12.50, I was doing a lot of stuff that resulted in a lot of things. At $25, they're just paying me for me. They weren't getting handouts or a product or anything. They were literally just paying to come and sit in front of me and I was going to talk at them. So that was really hard for me to swallow, even at $25 an hour. I started a Groupon So I did 3 sessions for $75. I went to 3 networking sessions per week. Here's the thing, I went to 3 networking events. At each networking event, I made it my mission to connect with 3 people minimum and set up coffees with those 3 people. So my focus, because I didn't have a lot of money for advertising, right? My focus was on building my connections. What I wanted to do was make sure as many people as possible trusted me, liked me, and knew what I did and how I could help. That if they met someone who was like, oh, I need to stop smoking, or oh, I can't sleep, they'd be like, oh, you should go see Abby. She's telling me about this hypnosis thing and it sounds kind of cool, right? So that was my focus, building up my connections, building up my referral sources. I gave every person I met a free session. Every single person. Like seriously, the first few networking events I went to, I took like 200 coupons, gift certificates, and I put it on every single person's place. It's like somebody, and honestly to this day, like two people cashed in their certificates. I was like, oh. But those 2 people gave me a testimonial in exchange for that free session. And when they did their testimonial, they did it in front of the group. So all of a sudden, more people started to come to me, right? Okay, so those are some of the marketing things that I did. Here are some money-saving tips that I thought you needed to spend a lot of money on, but it turns out that you don't actually. For a website, just do something easy, like, I don't know, Wix or GoDaddy, get a drag and drop template, pay something like $8, $12, $15 for it. It doesn't have to be fully branded yet. You don't have the money to fully brand yourself yet. Now, for some of you who are watching this, you absolutely have already done your branding because you're further ahead than that. And that's awesome if you are. If you're not further ahead than that, don't worry about that yet. That is not essential. What's essential is that you begin building up your trust, building up your connections, adding value, offering people something, okay? So don't worry about your website too much. You can have a place for a website because what I noticed is that people still like to legitimize you. So as soon as they like looked me up online and saw that I had a website, even though it was a drag and drop template that I put together myself, they were like, okay, yeah, you're not a scam. I was like, cool. I had a phone number on there and an address they could drive by to see if I was actually there. So it gave some legitimacy to people feeling a little bit more comfortable to come and work with me. Business cards, I did the free 250 Vistaprint ones. Seriously, for like 2 years. It's not a big deal, man. I haven't made business cards in like 3 years because I don't use them. You know what I do when I connect with someone? I'm like, hey, give me your phone number. I'll put it in my phone. Hey, let me send you a text message. Hey, we actually create a real interaction. Or I'm like, hey, I don't know you. You're a stranger. I don't want to give you my phone number, but can we connect on Facebook? Can we be Facebook friends? So I actually create a real connection. I don't give out a business card. Yeah, people have probably called me because they received my business card at some point, but it's not essential. Don't spend tons of money on it just yet. When you have done your entire branding, let your business cards be branded with you. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's great. But until then, don't worry about it. Just, I think Vistaprint has their cheapest ones are like $15. Just do the $15 ones. They're way much better. You're welcome. They're way much better than the free 250 ones. Photos, by the way. Professional photos are the only thing I recommend. Definitely not cutting corners on. Get professional photos. If you can't afford professional photos, just don't do them yet. Please don't go to the photo booth thing that they do at the mall and get photos like that. They don't look great. What you want to do is find a photographer who does actual headshots. Look at their, yeah, totally, right, Teresa? Look at their website. Make sure, like, if you see the pictures of the people on their website, that you would see that person and go, oh, I would do business with them, okay? The reason that photos are so important, my darling, is because people make a buying decision about you within 1/8 of a second. Within 1/8 of a second, they decide if they want to do business with you or not. If you don't have professional photos yet, don't worry, because you're gonna feel like homey, down to earth, right? But if you have not great professional photos, it actually looks worse than not having professional photos at all. Rather post a selfie, rather put, beautiful Linda, awesome, have her take some for you. Rather put like, this is me, than a shoddy, non-professional photo. Your average headshot, it depends on the photographer. I went to a really awesome photographer. She charged $150 per digital. I also have been to other photographers who charge $600 and you get all the digitals. So it really kind of depends, or $1,200 and you get all the digitals. So it really kind of depends what you're looking for. $150 or $100 is probably a little easier for you to stretch than say than $600 or $1,200 for photos, but they are essential. This is the one part of branding that I don't recommend skimping or trade or favors, payment plans, whatever you need to do, get professional photos. Cool. So that's what I did on the way to stabilizing. And after a few clients, I had raised my rate to about $50 an hour. When people started paying me $50 an hour, guys, you could have knocked me over with a feather. I could not believe it. And then very shortly, one of my hypnotherapists, cool, but they still look beautiful, babe. They still look stunning. One of my hypnotherapists was a mentor too, and she was hammering me on about my prices. You are ruining hypnotherapy. You are ruining your profession. You have to raise your rate. And I was like, Adolph, I can't. I don't want to. I can't make myself. She's like, you got to charge at least a minimum of $100 per session. And I was like, it ain't happening, because I didn't feel worthy yet. I hadn't done enough healing yet. So I did bump it up to $80 an hour. Whoa, that felt like big money, guys. $80 an hour. It felt like big money. Some of you can appreciate that right now where you are in your lives. And still, like, boom, 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 boom. I was getting people booking. Once I'd kind of tipped over the tipping point and people knew who I was and people were starting to send me their referrals, it just got crazy. Then I started getting booked out like 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months. Then I started to raise my rate, because I was like, okay, I gotta slow down the inflow of leads somehow. Oh, I know, I'll bump it up to 100. Ha, that'll get them. Apparently that didn't work. So very quickly, I was at $80 for about 2 years, and then very quickly I went 100, 125, 150, 175, 200, 250. Okay, so by the end of my stabilizing phase, I was charging $250 per session, and I think I had a 3-pack for $600 and a 6-pack for $900 or something like that, which felt like so much money, right? When people are giving me $900 and I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is great. What the heck? Okay. So during the time when I was working full-time, I want to kind of talk you through my decision to quit my full-time job. I was working full-time at Princess Cruises, okay? Ooh, it's getting hot in here. My energy is going off the charts. So every other week, so I was seeing people on Saturdays. I didn't work at Princess on Saturdays. And then every other week, I was taking half a day off. I was using my vacation time, didn't take any vacation, didn't use any of my sick days. I was using my sick days and my vacation time to have a paid afternoon off, which was awesome, and then start building my clients. So I was seeing them on Tuesday afternoons and Saturdays, because I was still in school in the evenings, and my daughter was barely seeing me 3 nights a week as it was. So those were hers. I was non-negotiable. Those were for her. Cool. Then over time, and I think it was probably like 2 to 3, about 2 months. It took about 2 months until I was taking a whole day off every other week. And then really quickly, like maybe in 1 more month, I was taking a day off a week. Then when I freed up one day off a week, all of a sudden, just opening that vortex to the universe started sending me in like floods of people. Of course, because I had been holding them back. I'd been blocking them because I thought I didn't have time to see them, right? So I took that day, and then all of a sudden, all these people started coming, and now I was making more in my private practice, working one day a week, than I was making at Princess Cruises, working 4 days a week, essentially. I was also running out of vacation days and sick days. So I was having to start calling in sick. And that didn't feel super authentic because I'm not a liar by nature. So I knew I was coming to a crunch point, but I still only had $250 in savings, which is definitely not what I recommend people. Like, recommend people to have 90 days of expenses in their savings account before they jump ship. And the only other thing I had going for me was I had about 3 months of consistently making more in my private practice than I was in my regular job. But all of the money I was making was going right back into my business. So I took a leap of faith. I'm glad that I did it. I wish I'd had a savings. The next few months were incredibly stressful. So I quit my job. But what I did immediately is I got a part-time job on the weekends at a wine bar, at a local wine bar, when Serafina was at her dad, so it wasn't going to take any time away from her dad. Hey Ruth, hey Brisa, hey Carrie, welcome guys. And the money that I made at the wine bar, working 2 nights a week, covered rent, groceries, and my cell phone. So no, it didn't cover all of my expenses, but it covered the ones that I absolutely couldn't live without, right? I could always get a tap card and take the bus. Done it a lot before, right? I knew I could get around, so I knew I'd be okay without gas. I knew that, I rented a room, so I knew I didn't have to pay for utilities. I knew I could skimp on my business expenses if I needed to, and cut down my networking for a little bit if I needed to, right? I knew that there was lots of flexibility there, but I knew I needed to pay rent, groceries, and my cell phone bill. Couldn't run a business without a cell phone. So I didn't have a laptop for a lot of years. I really didn't. I didn't have any money to buy a laptop. So I would just use computers where I could, and then everything else I operated on my cell phone. Cool. So even when I quit my full-time job, I got a part-time job, so I had some consistent income coming in that paid for the most major expenses. Got it? During that time, during my stabilizing time, I also paid off my credit cards. I worked at the wine bar for about 6 months. Then the college that I went to school at offered me a job in the admissions department. So I'd be combining my sales skills with my love for hypnosis and hypnotherapy and creating more hypnotherapists so that more people can go out and save the world. So that seemed like a win-win for me. The pay was pretty good, and I worked there for a year. During that year, I didn't build my business, but it didn't shrink either. I just kind of kept consistent, and I worked in my private practice for about 18 more months, and because my time was much more scarce, I systematically raised my prices. That's when I was going from 80 to 100 to 125 to 175 to 200 to 225 to 250, right? It was during that time. My time was so scarce. The healing that I was doing, okay?